One, and we are recording with Miss Allie Hartman, episode 640, Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. And I was just telling her all the little tips to make the podcast seem more professional. And as I'm saying that, the good camera shits the bed. And clearly, don't take advice from me. Don't take advice from a skinny chef, and don't take an advice from a guy that everything's falling apart around him. But with that, Miss Hartman, please introduce yourself to all the listeners.
All right. Well, hi, my name's Allie Hartman. I have a nonprofit organization out of San Diego, California called Reopen San Diego that formed in summer 2020. It was based out of a Facebook group, and I initiated an in-person meeting that eventually grew from 12 people meeting at a park to now we've got, I think, 6,000 email subscribers and, over 6,000 social media followers, which isn't huge, but these are very, very active in the community in San Diego. And so we've been able to do a lot of really amazing things.
That is huge because, I got permanently booted from YouTube last year with 6,000 subscribers. And now I'm rebuilding it back up on Rumble and BitChute. And I'm at like 600 subscribers right now. So to me, that is gigantic. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. But Dr. McCullough put us in touch, and you were just telling me before we start recording because you're in Texas. How did Texas, San Diego, how does that work out?
I know. Why am I in Texas? Well, I was in San Diego, California. So, I tell people I'm a refugee from communism. Literally, it's been so bad in California. Like, if you've not lived in a blue state during this pandemic, then you probably don't understand how bad it was. But it was bad, and but I didn't leave San Diego because I thought California's lost, actually. And that's so I just want to make sure I make that clear, because a lot of people think, oh, why'd she leave? Should I be worried? Because I've been fighting for so long in San Diego, and I'm actually still with my organization, because a lot of what we do is behind the scenes, organizing, other than the actual events, rallies, meetings. But there's a lot of work to do behind the scenes. But the reason I left San Diego was because I'd been homeschooling my kids for the last 2 years, and they want to be around other children. And with the vaccine mandate that they want to do for all school children in California for the COVID vaccine, not only that, but for the masking rules and the CRT and all the fun stuff they want to push through in public school in California, and even the masking in private schools and things like that. I just didn't feel like it was a place where I trusted putting my kids in school, even in private school. I won't mask them. Yeah. I won't mask my children. I've got 10 and 12-year-old daughters, and I just won't have it. So, it was either I continue homeschooling, which I could have done, and that's fine. I think it's a great option. But they wanted to go back to school because they had been in public school up until 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my mom's a nurse, and it's me and my three brothers. She always, she's said on the phone, she's like, if this was 30 years ago, she's like, without a doubt, I would have ripped you all right out of school. Like because look, and that's why I have on Dr. McCullough. That's why I have on Dr. Malone, because I'm not a doctor. So, I can say things, I can parrot things, but the reality is I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a football coach. So things that I want to talk about, I try to have on professionals in that field. The CIA had a psychic program in the Cold War. I had on the director of that program 2 days ago. Because if I just talk about it, that sounds like a guy walking around with one sock kind of babbling on the street, the CIA psychic program. But so I brought on the director who's a doctor, and he's like, oh yeah, no, I worked with the CIA from 1960 to 1995, and we're going into it. So the point is I like to, when there's kind of extraordinary things, I like to find the professionals in that field, so it's not just me babbling, because why should anyone believe me? They don't know me. I'm just a dude, not on YouTube. I'm just a dude. That makes it even worse. I'm not even on YouTube. So it's like, what did he do? But I think it was the American Heart Association or the American Medical Association coming out like a week or two ago saying it is now a proven risk for children, myocarditis. And they
Was
say,
that was in the journal of well, it starts with a C,
uh,
circulation or something like that, right? And it
I
was the
think,
American Heart Association's journal that
yeah,
said that.
yeah,
And I remember that because I have a 20-year-old son as well, and I'm constantly trying to convince him not to get the shot.
yeah,
You know, he's in prime risk for myocarditis age.
yeah.
And I'm telling him, but here's the other thing. When you're 20, and I think back to when I was 20, and they're telling you, hey, come on, you can just go live your life, just get a shot. I'd take as many freaking shots
Oh,
as they
yeah.
want me to get.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't care. It's safe and effective. I want to live my life
You're
at
just a
80.
conspiracy theorist, mom. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. And it's hard because
I
I
would have
love
done
my
the same
son,
thing. I would have done the same thing at 20. I'm
right?
31. Yeah. 100%. You're in college and it's like, uh, hey man, my mom's saying, your mom, dude, just take the fucking shot. We're gonna go to spring break. There's gonna be a bunch of
I
chicks in
know.
bikinis, dude. Let's go get
Oh,
hammered. Just take this. Oh, Tommy doesn't want the shot. All right, dude. Well, hey, we're all going to Panama City for spring break. Have fun
yeah.
with your tinfoil. Yeah. I mean that what's effective? Effective is ridicule. That's what's safe and effective is friends ridiculing you. You can look at every study in the world that says risk of myocarditis. You can have on Dr. Peter McCullough, the most
Yeah.
published cardiologist in world history, saying young men such as yourself, Tommy, should not get this because you're at risk of myocarditis. And hey, there's no such thing as mild myocarditis.
Right.
There's no such thing as mild murder. It is or it isn't.
Right.
And so yeah, so you're torn because you have these individuals and you're like, oh, is this just mom? Is this they don't know what they're talking about? Versus you have a bunch, dude, come on, safe and effective. Show me the interviews. Show me the interviews that say it's so
I
bad.
know.
And then you sound even crazier when you're like, there are interviews, but they all get removed from YouTube. And they're like,
I
all
know.
right, man, do the lizard people run the world? And it's very it's very effective at
Yeah.
belittling you and making you feel
Yeah.
crazy. And kind of luckily for me is my whole life I've kind of done whatever I really believed in, and I've just kind of grown a thick callus to, I guess, social pressures. I don't care. I'll be the crazy kid. I don't care. I'll study all throughout college and not go party. I don't care if other people, like, I've always done
Yeah,
what I
that's
wanted to
awesome.
do. So I'll start a podcast above my parents' garage. I don't care if my friends are getting married and having kids. So I've developed very thick skinned and to not giving a shit what other people think. But with that, I mean, risk at myocarditis. My mom said, yeah, she's like, I would have yanked you all out of school, would have pulled you right
Yeah.
out of school. I talked to a woman the other day, a lawyer who I've had on this podcast before. It's like the most clean cut, just, very professional. And she called me the other day, excuse me, and she was like, I'm fucking done, Tommy. And I was like, what's going on? Like, is everything okay? And she's like, I'm fucking finished with it. I'm pulling my kids out of school. And she's in New York and she's like, I'm gonna move to Florida. She's like, I am not doing this. I am not doing,
Yeah.
you're not gonna tell me what I do with my kids.
That's why we moved to Texas.
Well,
I
that's
said,
yeah,
I said, look, I'm going to give my kids a quality of life. Y'all want to stay and fight? That's great. I'm going to
yeah,
leave and fight.
yeah.
Because my kids, as much as I love you guys and as much as I want to fight, I love them only a billion times more than that. So I'm moving to freaking Texas, man. They're going
Only
to have everything, and I'm not taking it. I'm so mad about what they're doing on behalf of not only my kids, but on all kids and people your age and people my 20-year-old son's age. I'm mad as hell.
yeah.
And I'm not letting it stand. We're not letting it stand. We're about to I'll give you we haven't even announced this to our group in San Diego yet. So this is like I'm not even supposed to talk about this yet. But we're going to sue the city of San Diego. So we already signed the paperwork, and I'll tell you, because this is what they tried to do. They just passed an ordinance at city council saying to become an elected official in San Diego, you've got to take the vaccine.
What the
Yeah.
what? There's
Yeah.
no way that's gonna hold up, and because
Right.
yeah,
Right. So we're about to send them the cease and desist letter, right? And if they're stupid enough to not cease and desist, then we're going to take them to court. And I'll tell you something, we're going to freaking win.
yeah,
We're dismantling everything starting in San Diego. It's going to work its way around California and across the rest of the country. And then we're going to have to take back the world because we can't let this happen in Australia, New Zealand, can't. What the heck is going on?
yeah. It's, I mean, I get you kind of feel insane. You feel like
Oh,
It
all
is like,
all the
well, on
time.
a side note, I mean, that is to have the vaccine to run for public office. I mean, that is just weeding out everyone that doesn't comply. So
It's a
now,
political purge.
yeah,
A
now it doesn't matter
political
who wins the
purge.
election. They're all complied. They're all do this, you
Yeah.
all do that. And hey, if you don't have, I mean, wasn't it Israel that just started it? Now, if you don't get the fourth shot, so
Yes.
two shots, first booster, second booster. So now, if you don't get the second booster by, I think it's December now, I think it's May 2022, then your vaccine card is invalid. That same vaccine card that was valid up until the boosters came out, and then you had 6 months to get a booster. And now people that got three shots are like, oh, I'm good. I can get, well, now by May, you got to get the fourth shot. It's, it's that meme though. It's like, what's the difference between a far right conspiracy theory and a headline that says this is true and this is why it's good? And the only difference is 4 to 6 months. Like, that's what's going on. It's
Yeah.
conspiracy theory. Far right wing white supremacist conspiracy theorists say they're building concentration camps. And then you
Yeah.
look at Harrison Springs in Australia. There's
Yeah.
just that interview with that woman, a 26-year-old Haley Hodgson. She was on a show that I'd never heard of before. It's called Unheard, Unherd. It's a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
I just found it. It's a great channel. But she's talking about how the cops show up to your house, they block off your driveway so you can't like pull out, and they come in and they send a COVID wagon to come get you, which is eerily similar to the Einsatzgruppen and the wagons they would use in the late 30s to
Yeah.
transport you to concentration camps. You go to Harrison Springs and you have your own little thing. So now there it is out in the open that there is this thing with barbed wire, and now the headlines change from that's a far right wing conspiracy theorist to, I mean, you can see, you know exactly what the headlines are. It's the same formula. Yes, quarantine camps exist. This is why it's good. It's just that
Right.
programming. This is why it's good. Vaccines do not cause myocarditis. Change to vaccines may cause mild myocarditis. Here's why that's not a bad thing. It's the
No,
same.
no, remember it's that cold weather causes
Oh
heart
my
problems now,
god. Oh my
right?
god. I saw that cold weather. Oh yeah, yeah. Climate change. Climate change may be responsible for heart
Yeah.
attacks in children, or
Yeah.
and it's not
Yeah.
even that, because that implies it's something new. Some articles are just, they're just trying to slip it right into the subconscious to go, here
Mhm.
comes winter, and with winter comes those blood clots. That's like
I know, and you go, who's falling for this?
the same
Who?
the same morons that are falling for just comply and it will be over. Just get in Zavagans and you will be free. Just
You know
hey,
what we need to do is we need to go back to World War II, and we need to use those similar headlines and rework them with what happened
you
to
wouldn't.
the Jews, right, with the concentration camps, to show people, hey, this is like what people don't understand is it didn't go from zero to concentration camps.
Yeah.
It went from, it was slowly but surely. It was like first the seed was planted that they're other, they're dirty, they're
Unhyg-
unclean, they're unvaccinated, they're
unhygienic.
unboosted, unhygienic. And then it was the star, and then it was, well,
Ghettos.
it's just a star, and then it was, well, they can't go into certain places. Well, I mean, what's the big deal?
It's a
It's
private
for our
company.
safety.
It's a private company.
Right, right, right. So, and then with the I almost called them concentration camps. I was telling my husband yesterday, I said, I'm not calling them quarantine camps. I'm calling them what the hell they are. They're concentration camps. That's what those are. That's what we need to
Yeah.
start calling them. Period. End of discussion. Because that's what it is. I'm not playing this game where
Yeah.
we ease ourselves into totalitarianism.
Yeah.
No, call it out
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's I've gone into that a million times. There's a great book called KL. It's literally the initials K dot L dot. And I still don't know the exact pronunciation of it, but apparently that is like the direct German pronunciation for concentration camps, which later became I guess political prisoner camps, which became concentration camps, which became work camps, which became extermination camps. But it's by a professor named Nicholas Voschmann, Waschmann. It's an audiobook. It's like 38 hours. It's a very dry, boring listen, but it's just about the rise of the concentration camps. It's not about why did Hitler get into power. It's not about Pearl Harbor. It's not about World War II. it's this hyper focus on how do these things arise, who built them, how were they built, how were they announced, how did it begin. It began, the initial ones, when you went to stay there, you only had to stay for 48 hours. It's just in and out.
Yeah.
You come
What's
in
the
ready.
big deal?
And not only that, there was a shared mess hall. So you would go in and with every meal, you go in with the guards. And they're pl- playing rummy, they're drinking gin, vodka, smoking cigarettes. Oh, Vez, your mother from. Oh yeah, no, I got that. They're just kind of laughing and just fucking with each other, and then you leave. And after that, it went from 48 hours to like 7 days, and then I think 7 to 30. And around 30 is when, okay, you're in there for a little longer, so you could actually write home. And like your friends could come visit you. It was a lot like prison. You go in, you get the one, or not the one with a mirror or the glass window, and then beatings happened. And when beatings happened, that was actually a huge thing. That was actually this huge. The police chief would come from Berlin, and they would come into these camps because they were not the dominant power. And it was like, what the hell is going on here? There would be reprimands, guys would be laid off. You couldn't beat prison. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, we're Germans. We're a proud people. It's the progressive year of 1933. And it moved from then. And then as beatings became normalized and stays went from 30 days to 6 months. And now people that would go out would be like, dude, I'm really not trying to go back. It used to be like, oh, whatever, we're gonna get thrown in there again. And it went from like, dude, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to go back in. Guys would come out with, just beat the shit out of them, bruises, bleeding, and they'd come out. And guys would be like, dude, I don't want to go. And they'd do interviews and they'd talk to newspapers. And then that guy, whoever would get, was doing that, all of a sudden he would get thrown back in, and so would all of his parents and his siblings and his children. And all of a sudden people started shutting up. They're like, dude, you get thrown out of there, I have to go in there with you. So now you had pressure, right? That get the
Mm-hmm.
shot. You had pressure to not go back in there. And then like the first time someone was killed, and it was just, again, like not the chancellor, but like the head of all of like the police in Germany came. It'd be the equivalent of like the FBI director. The whole thing was shut down. What are we doing in here? Guys were laid off, but it just kept progressing and progressing and
Mm-hmm.
progressing.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
now we look back at things like Auschwitz, and you can go in there and you can see piles of leather shoes. You can see the hammers that they used to beat the golden teeth out of the still warm Jews after the Zyklon B gassed them. You can
Mm.
go in, you can find all the passports. You can see the trays, these huge trays of wedding bands, all plucked off their hands. You go in and you see all that, and what do we all say? Never again. Never forget.
Yeah. I
Never
know.
forget. You Holocaust denier. You never forget. Yet here we are. It has not even been a century. We're going, you Holocaust denier. Anyway, in the same country, in the
I know.
same goddamn country, in Germany, they are now quarantining the unvaccinated. Never forget, don't come into my store, you dirty unvaccinated. Do you know what the pass, what, they was here? Value papers. Do you know what that actual pass was called? It
What
was
was
called
it
this,
called?
it was Gesundheit. Again, I don't know the word for pass. It translated to health pass.
I know, and I don't get it, Tommy,
Yeah.
because
Lower my blood pressure.
I know, no, and when I talk to my look, I'll tell you something. My dad is completely on the same page as us, but my mom, who actually was a nurse and nurse practitioner, is completely on the other side. She looks at me like I'm crazy. Ali, we're in a pandemic. What do you not understand? And I'm like, Mom, pretty soon I won't be able to go buy groceries. And she goes, you can order them online. And I'm like, but wait a minute. You were the one that used to love watching all those documentaries on how the Nazis came to power. How do you not see? I so what's your theory on these are smart people we're dealing with? My mom's she's a smart person. She's a caring person,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
How have they been so brainwashed? Is that just what it is? They've just been brainwashed? What's going on?
I think it is what Richard Rhodes describes in his book Masters of Death about the SS Einsatzgruppen. The Einsatzgruppen were the precursors to the concentration camps. Real quick history: Germans would go in, they'd invade, the army would go in, blitzkrieg, all that stuff, and then like a week or two later, the cleanup crew would come in, the Einsatzgruppen. And what they would do is they'd go find all the Jews, they'd bring them out into a forest nearby, dig a trench, shoot them all in the head, bury them, and what that led to was the concentration camps. And we often think, well, the concentration camps were efficient. But the reason the concentration camps were built wasn't because of efficiency, which kind of spits directly in the face of the idea of like the efficient German. It had nothing to do with that. The problem is the men, the Einsatzgruppen, mobile death squads, they were breaking down because they had to shoot these women and children. They couldn't,
Mm,
war, you could justify it. I have to kill this man. I have to run a bayonet through him. But that's another fighting aged male. And they're coming at me. We're men. We're going to battle. We're going to kill you. I'm protecting my what? My wife and children back
yeah,
home. There are these direct reports of these guys who would be lining up and they'd be going, this isn't war. This is women and
yeah,
children. And what they would be told was one, if you can't do this, you're weak and you're going to join them. But the other
right.
thing is the reason we're doing this, and this was the logical methodology they would use. The reason we're doing this is because those children are going to grow up to be fighting aged males, just like
Yeah,
your children are going to grow up, and they're going to try and possibly kill your children one day. So you have to cut it off now. And so these guys would be like, I mean, I guess, all right, we'll do this. But the whole thing is the reason they were able to, we have this image in our mind, and although there are a lot of them, and I have to be careful about this because it's a hard road to walk because it's going to sound like you're supporting Nazis. They weren't all blood curdling, you know, Sieg Heil, Jews are
yeah,
rats.
yeah,
A lot of them breaking down, having to drink gin before they do the executions because their hands would be shaking. They're like, I can't keep killing these kids. And they would grab each other and go, hey, this is for our children. We're doing this for. So you have these guys who it wasn't because, oh, they're bloodthirsty Nazis. They thought
sure.
they were doing the right thing. And I'll say it as I say every time I tell this little story about this. Let me put the asterisk. They're all Nazis and they should all be hung till they're dead. I don't need anyone trying to take this out of context. But the scary thing is how it developed. It's very easy to hate an enemy that you go, oh, well, they're trying to kill me. What's more insidious is when you take a good person, your mom. The vast majority of my friends and family are vaccinated. All wonderful people, people who I would literally take a bullet for today without thinking twice about it. Those are my brothers. Those are my aunts and uncles. Those are my cousins. They're my blood. Good people, respectable people. They pay their taxes. They don't break laws. They're wonderful people. Maybe we disagree on politics. Maybe we disagree on the vaccine, but they're still people that I would take a bullet for like that without thinking. The end. December 8th. All right, that's the end of my life. Put that on my tombstone. Good people thought they were doing the right thing. A serial
Hmm.
killer, again,
Yeah,
it's easy to hate. It's a bloodthirsty serial killer. Gas him, kill him, put him in the electric chair. What the Einsatzgruppen were, and there were some and there were reports of this, and Rhodes talks about it. There were some psychopaths that just loved it, and it was like, well, yeah, there's your Nazi. There were a lot of guys who couldn't bring themselves to do it, but they did it because they thought they were doing the right thing. So,
right.
and that is the sort of the mind, the the anomaly of Germany. Is it's very easy to look at Genghis Khan, or you look at
Well,
the.
I don't know if it's an anomaly, and I think you're bringing up a good point because it's happening now in Australia. You see all the police, right? You see the huge protests and you see the police looking like stormtroopers and beating protesters. And then same thing in Germany and same thing, in Italy. And I mean, I'm sure you're watching all these huge protests and going, okay, the police are getting a little bit kind of like you would say Nazi-ish. They're beating people down. What the like this would these used to be Western countries. What is going on? And so you bring up a good point, and it reminds me of what Dr. Jordan Peterson says about there's a monster inside each of us, right? And in like a truly what does he say? Like you've got to realize, you've got to connect with that part of you where you're capable of doing bad things, but you don't do bad things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're all like you can't just be this weak person. So I think obviously the people that were like you said, most of these guys, they kind of probably got in too deep. And by the time they were in, they couldn't get out of it, right? Like it was to their peril then if they said, oh, I can't now do this job, right? So that's part of it. So I guess the lesson would be yeah, we've got to stop it early, right? We've got to recognize that this is exactly the propaganda that the Germans used, and exactly like similar propaganda to what China did with their Cultural Revolution, and what they did in Russia. uh, it's the textbook totalitarian, regime descending upon, a group of people, except for this time it's the entire world, which is terrifying. Um, so it's a little bit overwhelming. And yeah, we have these people, but the scariest part is you're mentioning all these people that you love in your family. And I know my mom loves me, but if if the propaganda gets just a little bit stronger and they can convince them that really we are a threat and we should be, probably for everyone's good, put away somewhere, they probably would go along with it. And that, to me, is where I start to get a little bit upset at these people.
Yeah.
I think you have a responsibility. um so I don't know. I keep thinking, how do we, I think all the time, how do we wake these people up? Because there's a lot of people that are continuing, like every day, more and more people I think are waking up, right? I don't think it's going the other way. I don't think more and more people are getting on board with this. We're
No, no, no.
definitely, like, every day more and more people are going, okay, 4 boosters, when does it end? And they're going, that's it, I'm done. So I think what we need to keep doing is we need to continue to do what you're doing, is speaking out, amplifying voices of people that are saying, hold up, wait a minute, this is nuts. um, and we need to keep having that dissenting voice, because I was listening to this really great interview the other day with this Dutch professor that wrote a book called The Psychology of Totalitarianism, and that was with Chris Martenson of Peak Prosperity. If you know him, he's got great YouTube channel. But he but the professor was saying, the thing about totalitarian regimes is they always will self-destruct in the end. Now might take a while, and of course a lot of people will die, but it's very important to keep that dissenting voice,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
um and so that's what I think, like with Reopen San Diego, we've been able to, create a group that is unified in dissenting against what's happening. And, we've just been able to gather more and more and more people. And, all the time we hear people go, oh my God, I found you guys. Thank God. I thought I was the only one. You
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
hear that a lot. I thought I
Yeah.
was alone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So we give them a community, we give them a job, we teach them how to go to, like, the city council meetings and the board of supervisors meetings, and how to speak out, and how to unite with other people for class action lawsuits. And now we're going to, on behalf of our group, we're going to sue the city, and we're going to make them walk back that ridiculous ordinance. So I think, that's something I'm super super proud of that we've done with my group, is just really amplifying that dissenting voice, where we're not going along with what's happening, and we're giving people a place to come to join. We do meetings, we have all sorts of great things our group has grown into. We've got a singles group, we've got a hiking group, we've got like a homeschool group. So we've got all these great, groups branching off, but we all are on the same page, which is essentially just freedom of choice, right? That's all we're asking for. Is, great, if you want that vaccine, I'm so happy you can get it,
yeah.
but please do not force me. Did you hear that it was a leader over in either Germany or Austria? They want to get rid of the Nuremberg Code.
Ursula von der, the chief of the EU.
And it's like, so what more do you need to see here?
A German woman named Ursula
Yeah,
wants to get rid of the Nuremberg Code, and
right.
she had dinner, or there's a picture of her having dinner, or like a dance or something, but just one on one with the Pfizer CEO Alan Berla a month
Oh,
ago. Surely just a coincidence. It's, but to answer your question, that if you can't tell, I have no capability of answering your question quickly, is How do these smart people do this?
Mhm.
It's because you think you're doing the right thing. You can't walk up to someone and say, we're going to kill them. What the hell are you talking about? But if you go over several years and you say, it's because you're doing the right thing, you're protecting your wife and kids, that's why we have to shoot these people. That's how you turn people into monsters. And it's very easy to. And you're right. I don't think we're that far away from people who love and respect you going, ultimately, we got to get rid of Allie. It's which
Mhm.
I'll say to that is the brilliance of the Second Amendment. They foresaw this shit. They foresaw, ultimately it comes down to personal autonomy. But what I think there is more and more people are waking up. And so the question is how do we wake these people up? And I've already gone against what I'm about to say already in this podcast. I've already made the mistake is don't ridicule them. No one ever, if you come to me with like legitimate criticism about the podcast, right? Let's say there's just, I don't know, whatever. Who knows, whatever. There's a thing that's like squeaking or like, I don't know. If you come to me and you're like, Tommy, love your podcast, dude. I think there's a way you can make it better. I'm going to be like, all right, yeah, what's up? Now, if you come to me and go, dude, do you know how fucking unprofessional that is to hear your washing machine while you do? I'm going to, even though that is a legitimate criticism, I'm going to tighten up and I'm going to be like, dude, don't come to me with that. Don't come,
Mhm.
if a friend goes, hey man, I want you to be around for a long time. You've been putting on some weight. How about you and I start hitting the gym together? All right, that's a blow, but you're like, okay. Versus if someone's like, you fat slob, you
Yeah.
cover that up because it's your own, and that's on all of us. That's just our own ego. You're never
Sure.
gonna,
Psychology.
yes.
Yeah.
So how do you wake people up? One, and I've made that mistake by calling them the same morons that get
Yeah.
boosters. Then that is a problem with me. I went against what I should be doing. Is you let them wake themselves up. And I know that sounds like a passive kind of skirting of responsibility, but I think you don't ridicule them. You always be there with open arms. And if eventually they come to you and go, I even got the second booster, but now they say if I don't get the fifth shot, I can't go to Walmart. Instead of told you so, moron, or I think you owe me one. No, you just look at me and you go, it's bullshit, isn't it? Come on. Just
Yeah.
let them
Yeah.
come in. Hey man, it sucks. You know, when I want to talk to a friend about like, I lost a sibling to suicide in 2014. When I want to talk to a friend that I think is kind of slipping, I don't come to them and I'm like, hey, you're incapable of caring for yourself. And instantly they close up. Instead, you're like, hey man, I lost a sibling to suicide. In 2016, I almost committed suicide, dude. I was a fat slob. I looked like Jack Black. I was fat, long hair, just pathetic. And eventually I kind of pulled myself out of that. And if there's anything I can do for you, man, I love you. There's nothing you can tell me that I'll look down on. I've done it all. I had to move home at 26. You kind of instantly lowered yourself to such this level where you're like, you just kind of lend a hand. You're like, yo, do you want to do this thing? So if someone comes to you and they go, you know what, they are censoring everything. And, I tried to post an article about ivermectin and these people that loved me up until now, I was on the right side, trust the science, none of them talk to me anymore. And I don't get to go to parties and they all say I'm a conspiracy theorist. And reality is I'm just for free speech, or I'm vaccinated, but I think you have the right to not get vaccinated. And all of a sudden my friends won't talk to me anymore. Don't laugh and say, I told you so. Just go, yeah, man, it sucks. Let's try to do the right thing. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
And I think that is what will work. And the thing about more people waking up is, it's like that, like the revolution will not be televised. You're never going to see these, there's six corporations control 90% of all the content online. There's five social media companies. Like it's all it's all a top-down control system. They're never going to broadcast, hey, did you see Tommy and Allie Hartmann talking today about this? Apparently people in San Diego are fed up. They're never going to say that. They're never going to say, up until the day Hitler committed suicide, his generals were still giving him
Yeah.
false briefings saying that we're taking the Eastern Front. The German propaganda machine was still saying stand tall. Like the day before he issued the Nero decree saying all Germans burn everything, don't let the Soviets have anything. They brought eighth graders in front of the Fuhrer bunker and they gave them guns and they
Wow.
gave them meth and they said fight the not or fight the Soviets. Where yeah, it's from Blitzed by Norman Ohler, a great book about Nazis and drugs. But the thing is up until now, the Nazi machine started degrading probably like a year or two before. up until the day before Hitler committed suicide, they were still they put on a strong face, fake it till you make it. So you have to understand is that we're never going to see the enemies with
Yeah.
behind the levers of the media
Mhm.
machine. You're never going to see them broadcasting the fact that they're losing. It
Right, right,
just
right. Yeah,
it just happens all of a sudden, and we wonder, how did the Soviet Union just collapse overnight? The Soviet Union was collapsing for 20
yeah,
years. All of a sudden, it just happened, right? The World Trade Centers were on fire for 102 minutes, and then they fell. It's a
yeah.
thing that's happening slowly. So I think that as much as we're seeing people wake up, we're probably only seeing 1/1000th of it. It's
Oh,
probably,
sure,
yeah, yeah.
sure.
And I know I'm kind of rambling now, but that's what I think is happening. So don't ridicule people. Do the opposite of what they do. Oh, you conspiracy theorist, you don't want to get the shot. No, just hey, I respect if you want to get it. Personally, I don't want to get it. Not my cup of tea. You go for it, brother. Just hey, if you don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. But hey, I'm all for free speech. If you want to say ivermectin works, I think you should be able to say it. If you want to say George Bush is a lizard person, I think you should be able to say that too.
You
I
know,
don't
you
believe
can
it, but yeah.
yeah, and you bring up a good point because you can usually find common ground with almost everybody about free speech.
Yes.
Right? You can, so if you find that common ground, like I've had people that are like, no, I really think everybody should get vaccinated, but I also believe it should be a choice. And I focus on, well, we're on the same page with freedom of choice and freedom of speech. And
Yeah.
ultimately, but I do like to remind them that the vaccine doesn't prevent transmission, right? Because then that kind of destroys the whole argument for a mandate of a vaccine if it can't even, I mean, even if like we didn't have the Nuremberg Code, which was against coercion, it doesn't make any sense. The vaccine does not prevent transmission. So I think you're right. Like we need to remain civil, keep the door open for people to change their mind
Mm-hmm.
because nobody wants to look like they failed or they made a bad choice. Keep the door
Yeah.
open.
Don't make fun of
And
anybody.
you can keep repeating your point because that's what the propagandists do, right?
Yeah.
They've
Repeat it
been
again and
so
again
good
and
at
again.
repeating. I try to, and I'm sure you're the same way because I can tell you're a history buff, but I always try to go, okay, obviously, there's people that are very good at propaganda, right? And they're on, we're thinking of like the Nazi propaganda and the communist Russia propaganda and all that, the communist China propaganda, North Korea, all that. But why is it so effective? And it's effective because they repeat it over and over and over,
Safe
right?
and
And over
effective.
and over.
Safe and effective. Safe and effective.
Yeah, so we can do the same thing and pick a couple talking points. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. One is the vaccine doesn't prevent transmission. That's a huge chink in the armor. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you can sit there and tell me that it makes sense to make everybody get a vaccine when it doesn't even prevent transmission, I mean, you can't do it. It's just ridiculous. So I just keep repeating, but the vaccine doesn't prevent transmission. I mean, even the CDC admits that. And then the other thing is, informed consent involves choice, right? So informed consent is one of the first in the Nuremberg Code, right? The first point. And informed consent means you were fully informed and you consented of your free will without coercion to lose your job or lose your education or be excluded completely from society, which is of course why they want to get rid of it in the EU and Australia and everything, right? But if we just keep repeating those points, I think those are very, very strong points that at the end of the day, I don't think many people can go against those.
Yeah. And those are
You know?
just, yeah. And
It's
it's,
non-political too. Like
yeah.
I'm not partisan. You're
Yeah.
Democrat, fine. You're Republican, fine. I really don't care what you are because I was a liberal Democrat up until March of 2020, till I saw what it really meant these days to be a liberal Democrat. Because liberal used to mean you believed in free speech.
Oh yeah, no, it used to be, hey man, LSD, I disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. Never trust anyone over 30. Fuck the man, fuck big pharma. Occupy Wall Street was 11 years ago. But hey, Pfizer. It's
I know what's going on,
there's there's this comedian who I just discovered like a week ago. His name is I think it's Ryan Long. He's hilarious and
on Instagram.
probably let me make sure because I it
Brian Long. I need to laugh.
Ryan I think it's Ryan Long. Uh, Ryan Long. Yeah, it's Ryan Long.
Okay, Ryan Long Comedy on
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah.
Okay.
He's got this YouTube video about like I hate big pharma except for Pfizer. And it's this dude who's just doing all of these kind of classic, talking points of, the corruption of big pharma, all the big banks, Bezos and wealth. And he's like, yeah, and he's like walking around. He's like, man, I wish the CEO of like Goldman Sachs was down here right now. I'd let him know what's up. Bernie, bro. He's going on and on. He's like, big pharma was pushing opioids in like the 90s and 2000s, and they knew about the downsides of them. Fuck them all, man. Dismantle the 1%. Except for Pfizer, man. Except for Pfizer, man. They got those boosters. They got the Pfizer's got my back. Pfizer's got my back. And it just goes on. Did you know that the top 1% made $4 trillion during the pandemic? And he's going on and on and on. But leave Pfizer out of this, man, because Pfizer's they're doing the right thing.
Right.
But it's just this insane, like, who.
It's like George Carlin 2.0, right?
Yeah, it's this weird. I mean, it's this weird, like, it's like seeing like the hippies from Woodstock or like protesting outside like the Pentagon for the anti-war movement in Vietnam. It's like seeing them wear Northrop Grumman sweatshirts.
Right.
You're just like,
Right.
you're like, I what? I do what? It's this insane. Yeah, but that guy's hilarious. But I don't know why I got off on that tangent. But
Well,
what
I
you're saying,
think, actually, like comedy is
well,
another
that's
great way to reach people, right?
yeah,
Like
because
laughing.
when you
Like,
laugh, it dismantles the ego, and then like kind of
yes,
like an mRNA vaccine, it just delivers the truth, and
just goes in and it modifies your DNA.
it makes you laugh. But dude, Ryan Long does this other one about the difference between racists and woke, and it's him wearing a shirt that says racist and his friend wearing a shirt that says woke, and they're like, and they're they turn to each other and they're like, everything about you should be based on your skin color. Your identity should be everything. Like, Jinx, you owe me a Coke. And it's like, I don't think white men, and like the woke guy's like, I don't think white men should date black women because I think it's an internalized form of racism. And the racist guy's like, I've been saying that for years. Stick to your own. And it's just this whole thing. It's like,
Yeah.
did you know that that white owned business makes tacos? That's such appropriation. The other guy's like, I'm with you, man. White meals for whites only. And they're just going on and on. There's the whole the whole
Wait,
thing
is
is
that
about
Brent Pella? Is that Brent Pella
no, it's
comedy?
Ryan Long,
Oh,
same
that's
same
all
guy.
Ryan Long?
Yeah,
Okay.
dude, he's
Okay.
so funny, but they're talking about all these things, and they're like, I think we should get rid of like, I think we should get rid of segregation laws so that we can hire based on race color. And they're like, I've been saying the same thing, man. Companies for your people, by your people, and it's the whole thing is
Yeah.
like, I call them people of color, and the racist guy's like, I call them colored people, but you know what? As long as we're just, as long as we're identifying them as different, like, but that's kind of a way you can sort of judo
Yeah.
your way into it. Now, granted, those are very talented people that can make it funny, but yeah,
Well,
it's
you can share their comedy. Like, for example, I can already see I'm going to send my 20-year-old son, a couple of those clips, and he's going to
yeah,
laugh his ass off because he was calling me a libtard before 2020 happened.
yeah,
He was,
yeah.
like I told you, I was on the other side a bit. And,
Oh, I was super liberal. Yeah,
and I mean, I like to say I keep the good parts of that, what I thought it was to be liberal, freedom of speech, really believing in equality. But you're right, like the woke and the racism. And I was just having a conversation yesterday. They were saying, why don't you like CRT? Why did you move out of California? Why are you insisting on putting your kids into a private school? And I'm like, because I don't want my kids to be taught to be racist. They are multiracial.
yeah,
And like it's ridiculous. It really is teaching kids to be racist
yeah.
against each other.
Oh yeah,
And no kid I've ever met gave one fig about the color of another kid's skin when they're on the playground playing. They don't care. But you
yeah,
got to bring them in and you got to teach them they should care. Why?
yeah.
What?
Oh, I've people
Leave
ask
them
me
alone,
yeah,
man.
people ask me all the time. They're like, the vast majority of your guests are white males, and I actually had to go back and look at it, and I was like, oh, you're right. Because like I don't give a shit. I just don't care. You know who
Yeah.
I've also had on? I've had on guys from NASA. I've had on a white guy named Warren. I've had on Charlie Duke, the 10th man to walk on the moon. I've also had on Aaron Shepard, who works with autonomous robots. Aaron's black. You know who doesn't give a shit? Me. I don't care. I do
You
not
know who
care at
also
all.
probably doesn't give a shit? Aaron.
Aaron doesn't give a fuck at all.
doesn't fucking give a shit.
No.
Nobody with half a brain cell gives a shit about this woke CRT stuff. And the problem is the people that are trying to push it on our kids, it's all about indoctrination and it's all to dismantle the country.
They're yeah, no, they're racist. Yeah, Aaron doesn't care because I had Aaron come on here and I was like, "Hey, do you want to meet a guy that walked on the moon?" So it's me, Aaron, and Charlie Duke geeking out about walking on the moon. Not one of us was like, "And isn't this great that we're giving a black man it?" What? What? What are you talking about?
It's so insulting to
After
even think that that
after
matters.
after this, I've had you don't have on women. You don't have, I'm talking to you right now, a white woman. After this, I'm having on a black woman. And after that, I'm doing 3 podcasts today because I'm a moron. I'm having on an Indian woman. No part of me cared about the genitalia, the skin color, or the race of any of these people. You know what we're talking about with all of them? COVID and freedom. That's what I care about. I don't give a shit about anything else. I truly do not care. And it's this whole thing where you're trying to divide it. It's divide and conquer, but all these things, none of these things can stand up to just facts, right? You can keep a lie going long enough if everyone is in on it and everyone agrees to not bust the illusion. But all you have to do is, yeah, man, it just doesn't make sense to me that, it still doesn't stop transmission. Or you could just say, hey, you know what? I'm for personal choice. I'm just for personal choice. I don't, or, if they say that you shouldn't be able to get, medical care because you're unvaccinated, and the reality is that the hospitals are filled up with unvaccinated people because they're disproportionately being injured during, or have worse health problems, or just lean into it and go, I'm with you, man. Same with fat people because they disproportionately take it up too. Just lean into it, be like, hell yeah, I'm all for it. Let's make it for only the healthy people. Kind of make
Mhm.
them backpedal. Well, being fat isn't contagious. Yeah, but it's still your own choice. I mean, right? Over a certain BMI, you are making the, or lean into it and be like, I'm with you, man. I think we should also stop medical care. I don't think you should be able to go to an ER if you have nicotine in your blood. We got to stop smokers from holding up all the hospital beds.
We shouldn't give medical care to drunk drivers that get in
If
crashes.
they
They
get in
should
crashes, no, they should breathalyze them before they call the ambulance because it's
or
disproportionately.
anybody in a jail. You
Yeah.
know what the craziest thing to me that they've done in California over the past year and a half is they're releasing tons of felons. They're literally releasing
California is
inmates.
a controlled demolition.
And I know, and I keep saying, well, they've got to make room for people like me, right?
Yeah. 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 No. Yeah.
But it's a freaking cesspool. I mean, if you talk to anybody about LA, it's horrible. Oh, so LA, I don't know if you probably know this, but they have vaccine passports there, just like New York, right? Where I mean, I don't know if it's as quite as bad as New York, but it's definitely they've got vaccine passports in LA. They've also got an indoor mask mandate. And one cool thing that we were able to do with my group is stop that from happening in San Diego.
Hell yeah.
So I'm going to prove to you that we did this because this is really cool. We we've been pushing people to go to the local county governance meetings, specifically the board of supervisors meetings. Over the last year, we started with it would be just like me calling in when they were closed to the public, like one or two people, right? We managed to get a lot of people and get some other activism groups from San Diego on board, sending people there. And we had a couple massive days of people coming and speaking at the Board of Supervisors over the summer. So I'm talking about hundreds of people coming to meetings where normally nobody comes, right? And the meetings, when people spoke, it's all videotaped, so you can go watch San Diego County Board of Supervisors. Anybody could go watch some of the meetings in August specifically. But the cool thing was, these videos went viral to the point where Stephen Colbert, Alex Jones, I mean, even across like into England, were picking up these stories of what people were saying, and so what ended up happening though was they never instituted a vaccine passport system and they didn't reinstitute indoor masking. And for a while we thought, okay, it might be because of us sending tons of people to the board meetings, right, and speaking out. But then we actually got a call from somebody that works in the county. So they said, look, you can't tell anybody I told you this, but I just want you to know that the public health officer and the board of supervisors had a plan ready to go for vaccine mandates here in San Diego. and they scrapped their plans after those meetings where they had hundreds of people show up. Like
Holy
they
shit.
literally, yeah. So I just want to encourage like anybody in your audience listening that, you know, if I would have believed the people that told me, uh, what can one person do? One person can do a lot because I'll tell you something, Tommy. One of my missions this last year was to get as many people to these board of supervisors meetings as possible. So I'm not saying it's all on me because it was hundreds of citizens, but it starts with an idea that other people catch on to, right? And show up. And I think it was just it proved to be a really great strategy. So I know a lot of what we want to do here is share what's working strategy wise to push back. And I just want to let people know, push back, start getting people, go to these board meetings, whether it's school board, city council, board of supervisors for your county. Start going, start paying attention to the agenda items, start finding out when you can speak, and start showing up. It is so empowering. And you never know if you might get on Alex Jones, Stephen Colbert, Tucker Carlson. We had people go on all of those shows
Yeah.
from those meetings. So, and we stopped vaccine passports in San Diego. Like, I'm going to say it. We did that. Like,
Yeah.
this is the citizens did that. We said,
Yeah.
heck no, man. So, I don't know. I think everybody needs to start thinking, what can I do? You know, what can I do? And maybe you just reach out and start having, like, I don't know if you know Dr. Pam Popper. She has,
She's coming on next week.
oh my gosh, I love her. So her whole thing is like, I think she makeamericans.freeagain.com, right? That's her website.
I think so.
And she talks about having like hosting little small groups in your home, right? Where you just you get together, you talk about things, you plan and you strategize. Because her whole point is, if you've got like a million of these small groups of people with this mission, right? And she talks a lot about single issue voter, right? Are you for freedom of choice with vaccines or not? That's it. That's all I
Yeah.
care about.
Yeah.
And I think she's onto something, because there's your talking points, right? Really, freedom of choice, and just respecting other people, and everybody trying to figure out what can they do. Get a couple people together. You'll figure it out. That's how we started. We didn't know what the hell we were doing when we met at a park with 12 people. We had
Yeah.
no idea. I'm sure when you started your podcast, you probably were like, I really don't know where this is going to go.
No idea. I was talking to a friend that I had never even met before. He'd been my buddy for 2 years. We just talked about, this was when like the Hong Kong protests were happening. I had no idea what was going to go. But what you were saying is, no, it's very important to, and I bring this up a lot, is to don't never give in to what word am I looking for? I just lost it.
Like the naysayers
Yeah,
or
then
the
there's an I
voice.
guess yeah, there's a specific word that's not important. It's on the tip of my tongue now. It's driving me crazy. But I guess, the black pill, the nothing can be done.
Yeah.
Give up. It's over. It's they want to break your spirit.
Yeah.
Never give into that, because this is how things happen. If it's just getting people to show up, like that's a tiny little thing. But if you're doing it and you're doing your part, like you have no idea where it will go. They want
Yes.
they want you to think you're alone. They want you to think there's no one there doing it with you. Even the act of just standing up and going, I'm going to start going to these meetings, that
Mm-hmm.
gives other people who were maybe scared of being mocked, oh, tinfoil hat guy, it makes them go, yeah, maybe I'll go do that too. Maybe and I used the example before in organic chemistry in college, like you'd be mixing shit together and trying to get it to solidify in like a solution. Let's just say you're trying to like build a crystal of whatever salt, but you would put these little, these weird, I remember they were like teal colored. They're these little tiny, they looked like miniature like guitar picks, and they were just called chips, really tiny, just cheap plastic. And you drop them in there, and they were called chips, and it was for a point of nucleation. And what it meant was that the solution was ready to start turning into a crystal. It's like when it snows out, like well, you're in Texas and I'm in Maryland, so it's in soda. But
And I
like,
grew up in San Diego, so I
all
have
right,
no
well,
idea.
terrible analogy. All right, so just go along.
Okay,
It's
got
like the
it.
first time it snows, the ground still isn't frozen, so it might stick a little bit and then it melts and
Mhm.
it's whatever. But after like the 10th snowstorm and it's January and it's been below 30 for a couple months, the ground is frozen and then it starts to snow. And once the first layer sticks, then it's game over. Then the snow starts packing up and packing up and packing up. But if you're just first snowstorm, it doesn't really stick. Nothing really stays. It just stays. It's like soil. It's like watering a plant that you haven't watered in a while. It all disappears. Where'd it go? Keep dumping water into it. Eventually you're gonna see like the soil kind of start lifting up and it's gonna like start leaking. You're like, oh, this thing is saturated. So with a point of nucleation, it's when the entire solution is ready to start turning into crystals, but it's still nothing. No one molecule is grabbing onto the other yet to turn it into like a snowball. So you drop these little things in there that for whatever reason the molecules stick to more, and then all of a sudden this beaker of what looks like water, all you start seeing like little white things start appearing on like the chip, and they start sticking to each other and sticking to each other, and over like 10 minutes you'll see it start forming and forming and forming, and it starts turning into like a rock, and looks like a crystal or like a brick of salt, to the point where it doesn't even need the chip anymore. It is now, you can actually go in with like tweezers and take the chip out. It's fine because this thing is now self-sustaining and it's building on top of itself
Yes.
and building on top of itself, and then it just takes over. That's all you need to, you just need to be a point of nucleation. And it might
Yes.
be you going, hey, two or three of us are going to go to this town hall meeting, and it might not work. It might never get more than two or three of you. But
Mhm.
if you say that on a podcast and someone in Montana listens to it, maybe they do it. And you know what? They might never get past two or three people. But if enough people listen in enough different counties, the law of averages will say somewhere through variables that only a supercomputer could calculate, it's gonna, like San Diego, all of a sudden you have 2, 5, 10, 50, 100, 300, 500. So now we're a mega US city is not doing vaccine passports.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden there, that city is now on, zoom out even more. That city is a point of nucleation. So now
Yes.
another city can go, instead of
Yes.
just a town meeting, now you could have a whole nother metropolis go, San Diego did it. And now you have that. And now what happens if you get the US to do that? Now
Yes.
that's another point of nucleation. All it takes is top down control is very oppressive. It's intimidating. It's scary. It's fearful, but it takes so much energy to constantly censor, whack a mole, shut everything down,
Yeah.
versus the truth just arises naturally. All you have to do is be a point of nucleation and understand that it might not turn into anything. I don't also want to get people's hopes up and go, I'm going to do
I
this and change everything.
yes. No, start small. I love this. Be a point of nucleation. This is amazing. I would say, yes, start small. Like, even your first step might be find one other person that wants to get together for coffee. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, start so small. Don't give
As
yourself,
small as you can go.
you will, maybe, and then maybe the next meeting you just go, let's just figure out who our local governing board is, because I didn't know who the board of supervisors were. I barely learned about the city council. And don't be intimidated. I didn't know all this stuff. I learned it during this whole process. Maybe then you figure out when they meet, and then the next time, well, let's just even see if we can find the agenda. So, like, I would say, absolutely. It took us a good 8, 9 months to get to the point where we had hundreds of people. But for the most part, the first were just a few of us going
Yeah.
and feeling like we weren't making a difference. But my God, if we would have given up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, be a point of nucleation, because you don't realize how powerful you are. And courage begets courage.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get up there and speak, and I spoke for the first time in person because I'd been calling because they were closed. I don't even, June maybe, because they reopened for public comment in person in May, after we had a rally, a let us in rally in April.
Yeah.
So I want to claim that we got them to reopen their meetings, even though it could have been coincidental. But I'm going to say we did that,
Take the win.
because we did have probably over 100 people at that rally outside of the board of supervisors. But I think, it's nerve wracking. It is, and I know people
Yeah.
hate public speaking, but this is what I always tell people, and this is super interesting for your audience who maybe have never gone to a city council or board of supervisors meeting. This is for the new people that haven't gone, don't even know who's in charge. It was always the first timers, the people that got to the meeting and said, "Oh, I don't know if I'm going to speak. I just came to support you guys." And I would always tell them, "You got to speak. Here's why." It's always, for some reason, the people that say, "I don't know if I should talk. I don't know if what I have to say is important," that end up going viral.
Yeah.
They always end up somehow having the best speeches, but I wouldn't even worry about it. Even if you just get up there, state your name and state, "I don't like what you're doing to the city because this and this." That's it. It's transformative.
Yeah.
The best way possible. I mean, you get addicted
Yeah.
to that feeling of power. Like,
Yeah.
I've stood up for everything that's trying to oppress all of my friends and family and everyone I care about and everyone in the world over the last year and a half. And I've said no. And when you get a person to do that, something happens in them and they will
Yeah.
never give up.
Yeah.
So,
No, it is. It's if to go do that. I mean, I use this podcast as an example. The first guy I had on was just my friend Doran. We just talked about whatever. It was terrible. And then like I had on, but once I had him, and this was my game plan, I was like, because the hardest thing was getting the first person to get on. I needed someone. And I got a friend. I was like, dude, it's just gonna be us. We're just gonna shoot the shit. And it was like, fine. Once I got him, now I got a second friend who didn't know the first guy, but I was like, hey man, do you want to be episode 2? I just did episode 1. We're just kind of shooting the shit. All right. I got like 4 or 5 people. Once I had 5 episodes, each like an hour long, then I went on Reddit and I have, a multitude of interests. So I found like a guy that like an ex-Navy guy that like operated radar. Nothing sexy, nothing special, but it was better than just another friend and me talking about stupid high school stories. So I found him. I was like, yeah, I've already done 5 episodes. I'm just trying to build this thing. I don't really know what I'm doing yet. He didn't go through all 5 episodes, an hour each. He was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Okay, cool. It got to like 10, and then I found another guy on Reddit who was like a retired rocket scientist from the 70s. Hey, I've done 10 episodes before. I've even had on a Navy guy. We talked about radars and stuff. And okay, sure. All right. So now I have that guy. Now you get up to like episode 20. You maybe find like a cop, and it was like there were riots going on. I was like, hey, I just want to talk to people about, all right, you get him on. Get up to episode like 25, 30. And then the first time I got like an author. I was like, I love your book. I want to talk about your book. I'll put the link of the book in the description. I can't guarantee you'll get any sales, but like, all right, well, now you got one author. Well, now it's the point of nucleation back to step 1. Now you go to your second author. Hey, I got an author. Now you go to your third. Hey, I've had 2 other authors. Now I've got 5. Then you go up to episode 40, episode 50. I had on a guy that was in Delta Force. 45 episodes after that, I got Mike Durant, the Black Hawk Down pilot, who's now running for Senate out of Alabama. Mr. Durant, I've had on Delta Force. He was actually there in Mogadishu when you were there. Oh, cool. Now you get him. All right. Now I've got this guy. 80 episodes after that, hey, Brigadier General Robert Spalding from the Obama National Security Council. I've had on these guys before kind of talking out. Do you want to talk about China? You wrote this book about, all right, sure, you get him. Bam, start getting one after the other, one after the other. You're building up,
but
getting more.
imagine if you would have just stopped and said, "Who am I to have a podcast?"
Well, the point
Right?
is,
That's what a lot of people do.
and
Who am
once
I
you,
to do something?
yeah, once you get a weight moving behind you,
Yeah, momentum. Yes.
it took 216 episodes. And then I got Charlie Duke, the 10th man to walk on the moon, one of 4 men alive who've walked on the moon. Like 240 or 50 episodes after that, episode 495, Dr. Robert Malone, inventor of the mRNA vaccine. And then he came on for a second time with Joe Kent, who's running for Congress out of Washington State. I've had on Dr. McCullough 3 times. All these things start rolling and rolling today.
Yeah.
Later today, I'm having on Adita Bhargava, an mRNA researcher who is just on Aubrey Marcus's podcast. Aubrey Marcus is the guy that runs Joe Rogan's fitness company. Just you keep it rolling and rolling. And now we're at episode 640. I'm talking to a woman in Texas about reopening San Diego. Like these things go on, and I'm just one idiot with a camera.
Well, imagine what your episode like 1,000 or 2,000 is going to be. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to be interviewing Elon Musk in space or something.
I mean, if I could get like Elon, my dream episode is like Elon Musk, Alex Jones, and Donald Trump all in a room. To me, that would be the funniest thing ever. But the point is, but no, that's an important part is so you have this whole point of nucleation, you're rolling, you get momentum. Well, then you also start to get confidence. You start going, wait a second.
Yes.
In 1 year, I was able to do this. In 2 years, what do you think 3 years is going to be? And now you've kind of forgotten about that original chip, that point of nucleation. You're now building off the thing. You get rid of the first episode. I don't give a shit. Like, you've got this thing going and you start getting confidence. And then not only that, anyone listening to this, you can actually start spewing off points of nucleation. You're listening to your story about San Diego and my story about the podcast. Now someone in Billings, Montana is going, I can fucking do that. And you can. I don't think I'm exceptionally smart. I don't know you. I would say you're an average person. I hope that doesn't come across as an insult. I'm an average person.
That was very insulting, but
it was. Oh, I'm sorry. No, okay. Well, you and I, we're not.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. You're saying, look, and I say
two
this.
People. We're just two people.
Exactly. No, I say this all the time. If I can do this, anybody can do this. Anybody can. And everybody should try to do their thing. If they want to do a podcast, do it. I mean, we all start somewhere. Like I said, I'm very clear. We started at a park with 12 people going, hi, what the hell is happening?
Hi, my name's Al. Yeah. Yeah.
No plan. We didn't even have a plan for a good 4 or 5 months. It really, it can take time, but yeah, once you get that momentum, so the momentum curve, right? It's like flat, flat, flat. And then I feel like it's like this, right? Like it just goes parabolic after a while. You're just like, okay, there's nobody I couldn't reach now with your network to get on a podcast. You're so close to probably getting anybody you would want at any time. I mean, if you have me on, you're obviously close.
I mean, clearly I've made it. This is it. This is, podcast researchers will call it the Hartmann curve. They'll be like, once you get her on, well, and then we show that it's, but no, but you're absolutely right. If I can, when I was in a fraternity my freshman year of college in Valdosta, Georgia, 2009, and like you'd be getting hazed by the brothers and they'd be, talking shit, you just making you really feel like shit, right? Just making you do stupid stuff and run errands, and be like 3 a.m. and you'd be there with like your pledge brothers and you'd just be like, you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, they've broken me. Every once in a while, one of the brothers would almost kind of break character and they'd come up to you and they'd go, hey, what you have to do is find the person in your like pledge group. And you don't have to say who it is. Find the person who you really think you're better than that. Find the weakest person. Find the guy that has no balls. Find the guy that's scared to ask out a girl. Find the guy that can't keep his alcohol down. And if he is still going, then you have to keep going. And they would be like, and if that guy drops out, well, then you find the next weakest guy. Because that's what every now brother does, is when you're a pledge and you're out there doing push-ups at 4 a.m. and they're throwing beer at you and you're cold and you're like, why the hell am I even doing this? And they would say like, hey, you find the guy. And not only that, you then have to realize that look above you to the guys who are actually brothers who've been initiated. Find the guy out of those that you respect the least. You're like, I could break that. Yeah. That 90-pound guy, I could break him over my knee, but he made it through pledgeship. Are you really going to quit? And so it's this sort of, you find, in only the way that like a politically incorrect fraternity can, instead of saying, if I can do it, you can do it. They're like, find the biggest bitch and realize he hasn't quit. But that's what you can do. So anyone listening to this, you look at me and who's this moron? Exactly. Harbor that feeling. Who's this moron? You're better than me. You're smarter than me. Hey, I know everything about audiovisual. I studied this shit in college. This guy's a biology major. Correct. So take that and look at me. And if you see me interviewing these people, take it as a personal insult.
Yeah.
That you can't do it. If someone's watching this and it's just some catty bitch who's like, who's Allie Hartman? Yeah, look down on her and be like, so do it better.
Then why aren't you doing what I'm doing? Because you're better than me. So go do it. Yes. Yeah. I love it. I love that mindset.
Beat it down. It's like, I love to come from a place of like, I can do it and you can do it too. Much more realistic is like, hey, grab that little dark thing inside of you. When you look at someone, I'm fucking better than that. Do it. Prove you are. Because if you don't, well, then I'm better than you and you're a bitch. And no one wants to be a bitch. So
it's just another way to motivate people. And it's the frat boy mentality. And you know what? I think it's effective.
It's far more effective than anything else.
I'm going to have to use that somehow on my 20-year-old son, right? Because he's right at about that frat boy age. So if you were to say, okay, you're trying to convince a 20-year-old man, I'll say man, because I guess he is. I mean, he's my little boy always, but he's a man. If I'm trying to convince him not to get a vaccine, what would be the way to put it like the frat guys would put it, to make him like, if you get it, you're a little bitch.
People that give into peer pressure are little bitches.
Yes.
They
Yes.
are.
That's it.
You give in, you're a bitch. Hey, do you see Tommy is in a fraternity. He's building his own podcast. He got into medical school and decided he wanted to make money doing something he loved. Yeah, that guy is not a bitch. He's not going to his lectures anymore. I'm not taking shit from anyone. I don't give a fuck. I don't give it.
I love
If you're gonna
that.
get the vaccine, tell him to get it because he wants it. Don't give
Yeah.
in to anyone.
Yeah.
Don't give in to
Yeah.
anyone. You know what's the cool thing? What's punk rock? What's the leather jacket with spikes? It's doing what no one else is doing. When the mainstream, when SNL, when all the Tonight shows are like, get your vaccine, get your vaccine. That's not punk rock. Punk rock is doing what you're not supposed to do. It's the dead Kennedys putting in an extra cassette that was blank, and they said use this extra blank cassette to pirate other cassettes. That's punk rock. Don't trust anyone. Question everything, and then you
What
spray
about
paint that. Yeah.
what happened with Rage Against the Machine?
Yeah,
Why did
rage on behalf of the machine. Like that's what it is now. Is the fact that you have to have vaccine passports. Someone posted a Twitter shot and they're like, they have like an apartment across the street from some concert venue, and they're zooming in with their camera. And you see all these people wearing masks, and they all have their phones out, but you know on the phones are their digital COVID pass, and
yeah.
they're all screaming, "Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me."
Oh. And you're like, but you are.
And you're like, well, yeah. You know, fuck the man. We're gonna burn it all down. Where's your QR code? When did you get your second Pfizer dose? Okay, you are allowed it. What happened to fuck the machine? What
I
happened to
know. And
Occupy Wall Street? What happened about fuck the power structure?
you know what's happening, and this is the worst part, I think, of this whole thing, is like I look around at teenagers, young people, specifically teenagers, I want to say high school, and they're all messed up, man. And I'm like, this is the opposite of what teenagers are supposed to be doing, right? They're supposed to be
Yeah.
rebelling, and they're supposed to be, but it's just so
You're supposed to be
depressing.
rebelling whether or not it makes like this makes sense because you can cause myocarditis. I went to private Catholic high school. You weren't allowed to have hair over your ears or your collar. So I had hair right to my ears and to my collar until the day I graduated. There was no moral liberty and freedom of choice in that. That was me just being an asshole with testosterone in my body, not knowing what to do with it and going, fuck you, I'm going to do whatever I can't do. And then when I got to college, I cut my hair this short because I didn't care anymore. So it doesn't even need to be like this stand up for what's right and vaccine mandate. What happened to just rebelling because it's fun to not to do what you're not supposed to do? You're not allowed to talk about COVID on YouTube. So I got permanently banned for it. There are other people who there's this faux, you have the full blown, foot soldiers who are like, don't talk about COVID. Then you have the guys who like Tim Pool. I mean, I know he's got like a multi-million-dollar podcast thing going on, but he's always like YouTube and their draconian censorship. This is 1984. And if anyone brings up COVID, they'll bleep it out because he's like, well, we don't want to get kicked off. That's not punk rock. Punk rock is going, I'm going to bring on Dr. McCullough. Oh, I got one strike. I'm going to bring on Dr. Malone. Oh, I got a second strike. And then interviewing Dr. McCullough for a third time and going, I know if I upload this, I'm going to get permanently banned. And so you crack a beer and upload it and get permanently banned and hold two middle fingers up. All right, now I'm on BitChute and Rumble. These shitty platforms, I can't put anything in high res. The video quality is all compressed. I don't care. That's what it is getting kicked off. It's not, you
That's
don't,
a feather in your cap.
yeah,
For
you don't
sure.
you don't put your mask on and then say, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. No, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me is standing
Yeah.
outside the venue without a mask on and then videotaping it anyway and pirating it. That's what it is. It's always cooler to do what you're not supposed to do, whether or not it's even right. But I mean, in this sense, do it. It's cool not to do. I bet a lot of the guys involved in the American Revolution, a lot of them were intellectuals, probably smarter than most people alive today. What we
Oh, yeah.
don't see in history is there are probably a lot of the equivalent of frat dudes with their wooden clogs and their billowy shirts going, we're going to go fucking throw all the tea off that ship. Just, I don't know why they're British. They should be in New England, but all these Boston massholes who, a lot of the guys who took place in the American Revolution were probably just drinking beer and like, fuck yeah, let's burn it down. It's the equivalent of just having long
Yeah.
hair. It's wearing the leather jacket. It's pirating a dead Kennedy's thing. A lot of it is just you do it because fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. So it doesn't even have to be this romantic in 1776. No, you can just be like, hey, fuck these guys who are taxing me.
Well, that's what, that I think is our common link, and why, like, I'm very much a rebellious person. I hate to be told what to do by anybody. And I have to always, let my husband know, like, I'll, like I always tell him, it's like not what you say. Like, I agree with you, but it's how you're telling me. Cause my naturally rebellious spirit is like, I'm not, I'm not doing that because you told me to do it instead of, whatever. Um, so I think we have that in common, and I guess a lot of people don't have that naturally rebellious spirit. A lot of people are going along to get along, but the time is now to wake up and to
Yeah.
realize really that we're in a pretty bad place. Oh, but to what you were saying about the American Revolution, one thing that's super interesting, and I kind of call what's happening right now the second American Revolution. I really do, because I think there's a ton of parallels. First of all, um, you know, not everybody living in the colonies was on board with becoming our own country, and separating from England. In fact,
Yeah.
probably like maybe more than half the people were like, "Dude, like, what's the big? We're just
Just
gonna stay. It's not a big deal." Or they didn't care,
yeah.
right? So, like, you've heard this a million times. It was a small minority of really passionate people that thought we need our own country. It was not overwhelmingly the
No.
majority. So that's kind of the same situation we're dealing with now. We've got this passionate group of people like me, you, everybody, San Diego, and around the world and country that's really knows what's going on and fighting. And then you've got a lot of people that they don't really get it, or they don't really care. They don't think it's a big deal. Um, and we really don't need them. Whether they wake up or not, it's fine. I think more people will continue to wake up, but at the end of the day, there is, you know, we never should have won the American Revolution. If you look at what
No.
we're up against, it's
Should have
it's
been demolished.
it's insane. The odds were, and it was like over what, a period of
Comical.
2 years.
Comical odds.
I mean, like, I still don't understand how we won the American Revolution. I really don't. But I guess it gives me a lot of hope, because I go, well, we're freaking Americans against all odds. We won our independence and created the greatest country in the world. We can freaking do that shit again.
Yeah, we can do it. And now and we're not a little colony now. We're the most powerful economy and military force the world's ever seen. I mean, there's so little we have to do. It was so hopeless then. Now
Yeah.
it's almost like you'd almost have to be exceptionally retarded to fuck this up. Like it's
Well,
so in our favor.
it is in our favor, except like I don't know how you feel about this, but like with everything they're doing with our military, with the vaccine mandates, like I'm really worried for the national
Yeah.
security.
Yeah. Are they? Yeah. Are they? Yeah.
What's
Are
going to
they?
happen to all our young men, right, that are taking these mRNA vaccines, and all our police in San Diego right now? They're set to fire about 700 police officers. If you can imagine, that's about a third of our police force in a city of over 3 million people. I literally also tell people I moved out of San Diego because I don't know if it's going to be the safest place to live. If you need a firefighter, you need an EMT, you need a police officer in an emergency in a month or two, if these mandates go through, I don't know if you're going to get it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Joe Rogan said. Is he was like, I've been eyeing Texas for a while, but he was like, I remember realizing that like the riots were getting closer and closer. And he was like, how long until it's here for my little girls? And Tim
Yeah.
Dillon, my favorite comedian, my favorite fat gay comedian, Tim Dillon. And he talks about how he's he's this fat Irish guy from New York. And he goes, I look like a cop. He goes, I look like a shitty New York, Long Island cop. And he talks about, he goes, because I think he's the most high, I think he's the highest paid person on Patreon. He makes like 200 grand a month on Patreon, from like broke to just I think he's the funniest guy in the world. And he talks about, he was in LA, and this was like maybe this time last year. And he was telling the story, I think, on Rogan. And he goes, I was actually driving back to my like little apartment from a set he was doing at some comedy club. And there were a ton of riots and stuff. And he realized that they were getting closer and closer to his house over the weeks. And as he was getting close to his apartment building, he realized like the rioters, like it had finally kind of come this far, and they're kind of outside his apartment building breaking stuff. And he goes, "I'm a fat white Irish guy. I look like a cop. They're gonna
Mhm.
pull me out of my car and beat the shit out of me."
Yes,
So
they will.
he goes, I just kept driving. I left all my clothes and my computer in my apartment. And he goes, I filled up on gas and I drove out until Nevada. I rented an apartment there. And he's like, and I've been there for about 6 months. He just walked
Wow.
away. Now,
Yeah.
now there's this whole aspect of, it's also a controlled demolition. That's what they want. Like when people say, hey, the Biden administration are doing vaccine mandates for truck drivers, huh? We'll see who has the last laugh when they all quit. Well, no, no, no. The Biden administration will have the last laugh. These people aren't stupid. They're
Right.
evil. They're not stupid. They know this laying off 700 cops. That isn't a. What are they not thinking? No, they
It's
know
a
exactly what
feature,
they're
not a
doing.
bug.
Yeah, it's a feature, not a bug. They're breaking it down. They know exactly
Yes.
what they're doing. So,
Yes.
you know, but again, it's two things. It's the point of nucleation, and it's also, well, it's really three things, and we'll wrap up with this because I got another podcast in like 10 minutes. It's the point of nucleation. You truly just have to do the thing you want to do. That
Mhm.
is right, and you do it respectfully. It's not like you and I are saying no one should get vaccine. That's just as bad. You have
Right.
to be aware of your point. I am for freedom of choice with your body. It's just as bad to say you can't get a vaccine.
Yeah.
So no, no, I'm for freedom of choice and freedom of speech. I should be able to talk about whatever I want. Just like I should be able to watch a conspiracy theory that say aliens run the White House, or
Mhm.
that, there are, lizards on the backside of the moon. You should also be able to say ivermectin works. You should also be able to say, I don't know, sticking a fire hydrant up your ass cures COVID. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, well, then let the free market decide, and people will go, hey, fuck that guy. He's a moron. He died for putting a fire hydrant in his ass. So one, be the point of nucleation. Two, realize that don't don't let them break your spirit. Don't let them, because they're never going, this is the important one, is realize that they're never going to broadcast your wins. They're never
Mhm.
going to,
That
the
broadcast
Nazis,
video.
the Soviet
Yeah.
Union, they're never going to say, hey, we're slowly collapsing. No, they fake it up until the Berlin Wall falls. You keep it. So realize that just because you're doing all this work and you're getting other, right? So number one, point of nucleation. I am getting all these people. We're not seeing anything. Remember, point two, they're never going to broadcast it. You're never
Mhm.
going to realize it was working until it's over and it works. You're just,
Yeah.
it's just going to break, and you're going to go, oh, huh.
Yeah.
Imagine if we had given up. And point three, and this is one we haven't touched on, is the importance of realizing. I had on Dr. What the hell is his name? Keith Rose, who was a special forces guy in Iraq, blown up by an IED, moved back, became a physician. Now he has his own podcast called The Scalpel. He's like Superman. He's one of those guys you hate. Special forces and it's surgeon, and you're like, all right, screw you. But I remember he and I talking, and he said, like, Tommy, like, I commend what you're doing. I think you're doing the right thing. He goes, but don't forget, he goes, sacrifice isn't always transactional, in that a lot of men sacrificed their lives to beat the Nazis and to beat the Japanese. A lot of them died on the beaches of Normandy or of Guadalcanal. They never got to see the victory parade. They never got to see the sailor kissing the nurse in Times Square. They never got to see the golden age of the American economy in the 50s and 60s. They never got to see the moon landing. A lot of them saw a distant flash and a bullet went through their head and it was lights out.
Mhm.
But like points of nucleation, not all of them will work. With enough sacrifice, it does yield reward. So you have to remember that it's not all transactional. And I know that sounds dark, but a lot of, I mean, and I think about it too, is sure, we're jacking each other up. We're excited on this podcast, talking about San Diego, points of nucleation, we're, punk rock. But yeah, I mean, is there a chance that none of this works and that there is a totalitarian dictatorship that takes over the globe and we're all thrown in gulags? Yeah, there's a chance. I would probably say a good chance. What you have to realize is that whether we fight back and there's a new golden age of liberty, or whether we all end up dying in concentration camps, is, with the exception of being a billionaire and access to a bunch of technology, the vast majority of us are probably going to die around 70 or 80 anyway. So whether it works out as the best possible second American Revolution, or whether it goes quietly into that good night, into some dystopian future, around 8 decades, you croak out. And we're just one planet going around one star in one galaxy in the infinite. Eventually, it all ends anyway. It all ends. And in that sense, the final thing that will matter to you, the final thing that will be going through your mind is, are you at peace?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
maybe you're laying there and you're going, oh man, the deep state really did win. It's a dystopian future. And you get the tunnel vision and you're dead. Or maybe you're laying there and you're going, huh, it worked. And you get the tunnel vision and you're dead. Either way, you get to lie there and go, I tried my fucking hardest.
Yeah.
I tried my hardest. And the same thing, it doesn't matter. So point of nucleation, realize you're probably not going to see your wins broadcasted until it is over and you win. And no matter what the outcome is, just be at peace with it. Make peace with your God or the universe or yourself or whatever. Go go into death going, whatever, man. I
So
you know,
part of your wins though in the middle, and I love your 3 points. Um, Part of your wins can just be knowing that you're doing something. That's a win.
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
matter. You can't know if it's gonna win.
yeah,
I think you need to do what we do. What we do at Reopen San Diego is we really we make a big deal out of our wins. So even if we don't know if it was us per se that reopened the board of supervisors meetings to the public, or even before we heard that we had helped stop vaccine passports, we thought we did because we'd been putting a tremendous amount of effort into rallies, and we have an email newsletter, by the way. I would love for any of your listeners that want to see a blueprint for how we communicate with our people. Steal everything you want from how we communicate with our people, or anything. If we can ever help anybody, we are happy to do so, because this is a fight. We need as many people in this fight. So our newsletter is at reopensd.org. And we send it out a couple times a week with just all relevant information. And we really try to toot our own horn, because I believe we're winning, but I
mm-hmm,
think regardless, part of winning is simply doing that which needs to be done, doing the right thing. Then you're winning. It doesn't matter what
yeah,
happens.
yeah. No, and I'm with that. I think that's an important fourth point. Is yeah, you just it's like you know in college, like I would always, I probably need to start again. I would always try to spend like $20 a week and just get some socks or ramen noodle and just bring it to the local homeless shelter.
Yeah.
And I always realized that, like, am I going to solve all this? Absolutely not. But part of, what goes around comes around. So I'm putting out good karma. Hopefully it will come back. And finally, I realized, I was like, the good karma is I give it to him and I feel really good that day. And it was like, it doesn't matter what happens in 10 years. Well, it does, but it doesn't, because I was like, I did something good today. So that is part of it, is just waking up and going, I'm going to try my hardest. I'm going to try my hardest. It's, during like military tribunal shooting squads, there'd be like 5 shooters. 4 of them would have bullets and 1 of them would have a blank. And the purpose was is that no one person know who killed the person. And it's so that they could kind of sleep well, knowing that they, even if it's a murderer, they realize they didn't kill him. Or it'd be like half and half. It's so plausible deniability. I don't actually know if I pulled the trigger or if I shot a blank. You can use the inverse of that. And when something happens like no vaccine, you go, it might have been us.
Yeah.
It and just know you're doing the right thing. And I would say the most important thing is never use the justification of, well, some people are going to get hurt or some people, no. Always at the core, if you're for not having vaccine mandates, you have to go to the core of what that really is, and it's freedom of choice and liberty, which means if people want to get the vaccine and wear a mask until 2050, you got to fight for that too. That's their right to do that. I
Yeah.
just don't want them to have a right to press it on me. And if people start saying we're going to ban masks, you need to stand up right there and go, hey, I know we're all doing these town meetings together and stuff, but no, fuck that. If they want to work, because you have to stand up, because if you
Yeah.
don't, you're just slowly going to become the thing you're fighting against. And then they're going to have, and a rightly so, a reason to fight against you. And then the seesaw will just go forever. So stand up for what you believe in. And yeah, I think that's about all of it. I think you got a good taste of what this podcast is, and just no one topic, from Nazis to points of nucleation to punk rock to frat boys to That's what this podcast is in a nutshell. There's no topic, and I'm borderline crazy.
No, I love it. It was great. It was like talking with a really interesting friend about everything I always want to talk about, but it's so hard to find people that are on the same wavelength with everything. Like, I mean, I just moved to Texas, and so like I have to feel people out, right? I can't just jump right into my spiel. So this was great. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for having
yeah.
me.
I think you should start a podcast, but I'll let that mull over in your head. I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know why you wouldn't be a point of nucleation. Just start talking.
Oh, I know. If I had more hours in the day, maybe when I don't have to homeschool my kids anymore. I know.
Sounds like
Excuse.
excuses. Sounds like you do one a week. Do one a week.
Yeah.
I did one a week for like the first 4 months.
Okay. I'm gonna think about it. At
Matter of
least
fact,
I'm gonna have to ask you, okay, what's the camera I don't buy, the professional one you spend all that money on that froze?
yeah. I know, right? No, fuck that one, Sony. But yeah, fuck you, Sony. No, no, I mean, so I'm kind of tricking you now because we just did like an hour and a half of be the change you want to be in the world or see in the world. And so now I'm pushing that on you.
Oh
You
boy.
should you should now
Oh boy.
if it's what you want to do. If you don't want to do a podcast, then don't do it. But if the reason you're not doing it is hesitancy or I don't have enough time or I don't know what to do, you now have no excuses because now you have me and I can walk you through every step of the way.
Aw, thank you. I
Of course.
definitely have thought about that. So I'll think
Do
more and I'll hit
it.
you up.
Do it. It's so easy. Just do
Yeah.
one a month. Who cares?
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay. Well,
Point of
I'm gonna think about
nucleation. Point of
I know.
nucleation.
No, I'm gonna nucleate that and I'll get
All right. I gotta run because I have a podcast in like 60 seconds because I'm an idiot
Oh
and
my
don't know how
God.
to stop working.
All right,
So
well, let's stay in touch, okay? I want to
ab-
hear more.
absolutely.
Send me your I want to watch that podcast episode with that guy that walked on the moon for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Yeah.
And it sounds like I need to go back and watch a few others of yours that I haven't
Uh,
seen.
There are a lot of
So,
good ones. Just
yeah.
so I gotta run. Shoot me a text and then I'll send you this when it's up and we'll get your podcast started. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Miss
Sounds
Allie
like
Hartman. Thank you so much. Take care.